Today we are going to discuss a very important renal lecture. This lecture is called Water Balance and Defense of Extracellular Fluid Volume. This lecture is for third year medical student. I am Dr. Mohamed Fayez, lecturer of Ain Shams Physiology Department, discussing today with you a very important topic. Water balance. We will start by this topic. How are we gaining of water balance? Ways of water gain. All of us gain water by drinking, which is responsible for 2/3 of your water gain. 1/3 is water, which comes from carbohydrate metabolism. The most important equation is C6H12O6 plus 6O2 will form 6 carbon dioxide plus 6 water. So oxidation of carbohydrate will let you gain water. But the most important question, how we will lose water. So when we are staying now, are we losing water or not? So please return back to your primary and secondary school science lectures. When the teacher brings a mirror and then blows into it, we found there is a dew. So when we were children, we knew that we lost water through the lung, and the same, we will lose water across the skin. So we lose the same amount, but you should know a very important information, that water loss through the lung, you can see it, which is contrary to the skin. We have an important type of information called insensible paraspiration. Suppose we have a patient losing his consciousness. He cannot eat or drink. So we should give him solutions. So how can you calculate the solution which you can give it to him? First of all, you should calculate urine by a catheter per 24 hours. If you calculate, or if you accumulate 2 liters, so you should give him 3 liters. Doctor, why did he lose 2 liters and I give him 3 liters? There is an extra 1 liter. For what? Because it represents insensible perspiration, which you didn't see. So you should put it into mind. It's very important. Otherwise, the patient will die, because insensible perspiration, it is equal to 500 to 1000 liter. So how I can calculate water loss for unconscious patient. Volume of urine plus insensible perspiration. And you should know that sweating is very important because you can lose a large volume of water, especially in mine workers who work in a tunnel. There is a very high temperature. Ventilation is bad. So they are losing 2 liters per hour. You should compensate it by 2 liters, which I mean water plus salts. So, because if you didn't know the volume lost of water, this will be very dangerous. If water dries out until you sweat large volume of water, so you should compensate him. This is very important, and you should know how compensation will occur. It's very important. Regarding urine, you are losing half to 20 liters every day. Regarding stool, you are losing 0.1 liter every day. And you should know how you can regulate your water gain or water loss. Simply in physiology, if you know how can you regulate one defect, hypo, for example, you can know how can you regulate the contrary. So suppose you have now water loss. You want to regulate it. How can you do this? If I have water loss, I want to regulate this. I should stimulate antidiuretic hormone secretion, because suppose there is high osmolarity of extracellular fluid volume. High osmolarity means high sodium chloride concentration outside the cell. And you know from your first year as a medical student, or even in your school, that high sodium concentration will attract water out of cell by the effect of osmosis. Cells will shrink. You don't want an error to occur. You want water to be preserved inside the cell. So how this will occur? Simply hyperosmolarity will stimulate osmoreceptor present in hypothalamus. Osmoreceptor is a very important sensor for hyperosmolarity. So we called it after its function. Osmoreceptor stimulate its neighbor. There is a neighboring nuclei beside it in hypothalamus called supraoptic nucleus. Supraoptic nucleus, as you know, in endocrine will sensitize antidiuretic hormone. ADH is stored in posterior pituitary and released upon demand. How ADH will act? It will act on a specific receptor on late distal tubule and collecting duct. This receptor is called V2 receptor. All of us know that antidiuretic hormone has another name called vasopressin. Vaso means blood vessel, and the pressin means to make a pressure, vasoconstriction. So ADH will bind to this receptor, V2 receptor, to make certain changes inside. Why? Because this area, distal tubule, is not permeable to water. It has got tight junction like this. Does not allow water to pass through. We wanted to create a channel between the tight junction. This channel is called Aquaporins. I mean aqua, water. You know, like aqua as a mineral water. Porins means holes or openings. So we make a tunnel inside the tight junction to allow in water reabsorption. And if you allow water reabsorption, so here you prevent water loss. I want water not to be excreted in the urine. ADH preserve water inside the cells. It's very important to understand. So, your question to me now, doctor, what about hyperosmolarity? You said hyperosmolarity occurs. So, to which extent hyperosmolarity will stimulate ADH? Start from which value? Yes, it's a very important question. Hyperosmolarity start from 1% excess above normal. All of us know that normal osmolarity of plasma equal 288 or approximately 290 milliosmol per liter. So if osmolarity increase 1%, only 1% above this normal value, ADH is going to be secreted. So 1%, I mean 2.9 milliosmol per liter, which equals 293 milliosmol per liter. You should be very accurate and precise while you are describing the changes. What about another mechanism? If suppose you have water loss, this means that baroreceptors in heart and the blood vessels should also act together. And I explained before how they will act. To be very precise, now you have water loss. Your blood pressure is going to decrease. And you know that baroreceptor normally, it inhibits vasomotor center. But if blood pressure decreases, the firing level of baroreceptors is going to be decreased. So vasomotor center is going to be released from the inhibition. Vasomotor will send a signal to the lateral horn cell in the spinal cord, which will have an efferent to blood vessels, causing vasoconstriction. And if vasoconstriction occurs, this means that blood pressure is going to be increased. This is one of homeostatic measures, as we explained before in first year medical student. As you remember, in my cardiovascular lectures here in this channel, I told you before that we have volume receptors and pressure receptors, and these receptors can regulate water balance. This is very important. But suppose I want to increase water gain. How can I do? You should know that God makes everything in a tremendous, marvelous way. You want to regulate your water loss, you have ADH and how it is secreted, and you should consider the effect of baroreceptors. You want to regulate water gain, you should make stimuli of serous secretion, which is very important. I want to stimulate my serous center, so I should gain water. How can I make this if osmolarity of extracellular fluid volume increases? Number two, if the volume of extracellular fluid decreases, suppose as in accident you suffer from hemorrhage, what will occur? First of all, I want you to remember what I said before. Hemorrhage, decrease your blood pressure. Your question, which organs will suffer? Today we are explaining kidney. So blood flow to all organs will decrease concerning the kidney. Can the kidney stop action? No. The kidney should defend on itself against this error. Kidney releases renin. This is an enzyme. And you know that any word end by in, I mean protein. Yes, enzyme is a protein. You know, renin as an enzyme will act on certain substrate called angiotensinogen. And substrate is an inactive substance. First of all, this substrate present where? Present in the liver. Yes. And gen means inactive. If I told you from biochemistry lecture, any enzyme act on substrate. In general, you will tell me, doctor, to make the substrate activated, to change it from inactive to active compound. And this what we want to do. We want to convert angiotensinogen into angiotensin 1. Before, doctor, you complete explanation. What do you mean by angio? It is a Latin word, means blood vessel. Suppose you want to make a photography on your blood vessel. You will make angiography. Graph means a photo or a picture. Angio means blood vessel. Tensin, what do you mean by a tensin? To make a tension. Tension means to constrict the vessel. So angiotensin 1 is formed. You mean 1, so we need another type of angiotensin to be activated. Yes, I want angiotensin 1 to be converted to angiotensin 2 by the effect of certain enzyme called angiotensin converting enzyme. It is abbreviated by ACE, the first letter of each word. A, angiotensin. C, converting. E, enzyme. ACE. This enzyme present where? In the endothelium of pulmonary capillaries. I want you to imagine how many organs work together now. First of all, kidney release enzyme called renin. Substrate present in the liver, angiotensinogen. Angiotensin converting enzyme present in the endothelium of pulmonary capillary to form angiotensin 2. Angiotensin 2 will activate the thirst center. This is the first mechanism to make you want to drink water. You wanted to gain water to correct the error. This is a basic instinct. Anyone suffering from hemorrhage, he wants to drink. The relatives of the patient gives him juice. This is basic. Not only doctors can consider this, any human makes this by his instinct. It's very important. Another way angiotensin 2 will help you. It will stimulate antidiuretic hormone secretion to increase water reabsorption. Third, angiotensin 2 activate aldosterone. You know that aldosterone is released from adrenal cortex. It is concerned with sodium reabsorption. I explained before how aldosterone can act. Aldosterone bind to specific receptor on distal tubule to increase sodium absorption. Your question to me, doctor, how can we make this? How can aldosterone make this? Simply, aldosterone is a lipophilic hormone. What do you mean by a lipophilic? It can penetrate the lipid bilayer of the membrane of distal tubule by itself. So the receptor is not present on the outer surface. If you can enter my own flat, why I need to receive you at the outdoor? So please, you can enter in. come in. Your receptor is present inside the cell. It is present in the cytoplasm. It is very important. So, aldosterone will make DNA transcription. It will convert DNA into messenger RNA. All of us know that the main genetic information is present in the DNA. Your question now, why God converts DNA into messenger RNA to form proteins? Yes, we want to make protein synthesis. What do you mean by a protein, doctor? Specify your explanation now. We want to sensitize sodium potassium pump. And the pump is a type of protein. If you sensitize this pump, so you will move 3 sodium outside and let 2 potassium inside, and you help in sodium reabsorption. This is the mechanism of action. Anyone who listen and watch to this video, he should understand a very important way in physiology. Number one, what is the action? Number two, mechanism of action. In physiology, we have 2 questions. What you act, and second question, how this occurs. How means mechanism of action. So this is the action of angiotensin to stimulate thirst center, stimulate ADH, stimulate aldosterone secretion. And the fourth mechanism you should know, angiotensin to inhibit the contrary hormones. God creates hormone to increase sodium absorption as aldosterone, and he creates the reverse. But don't think that the hormone and its antagonist will act at the same time. This seems to be ridiculous, and God doesn't make this. God makes aldosterone to increase in its level to correct the error. If you have hyponatremia, for example, but suppose my sodium concentration in plasma is high, so what is the benefit to increase its level above normal more and more? We want to cause sodium excretion in urine. So the reverse hormone is called atrial natriuretic peptide. Atrial abbreviated by the letter A. Natriuretic abbreviated by the letter N. And natr means sodium, which is derived from the Latin language natrium. Uretic means urine. So this hormone causes sodium excretion in urine. Scientists call the name of hormone according to its action. And P is peptide. So atrial released from the atrium. And in textbook of physiology, we consider that the heart will act as endocrine gland because it releases a specific hormone. its structure is called peptide. So it's called A and P. Question now to all students. Do you need A and P in the case of hemorrhage? You will say no. Because if I am suffering from hypovolemia, blood volume is low, so I want to preserve sodium. You know that sodium is the main ion for osmolarity. And if you have high osmolarity, this will attract water with it by the effect of osmosis. Extracellular fluid volume is going to increase. So venous return back to heart is going to increase. Heart is going to be filled with large volume of blood. So end diastolic volume is going to increase, and consequently increase stroke volume, which is volume of blood pumped by each ventricle per beat, then followed by increase cardiac output. And regarding to the previous equation which I explained before, that arterial blood pressure equal cardiac output times total peripheral resistance, TPR. So if cardiac output increases, what happens? Your blood pressure is going to increase. This is a sort of negative feedback. You have low blood volume and it is corrected. This is a type of homeostasis, as we explained before. Maintenance of internal environment constant. This is very important. We have other factors which can control your water gain. Dryness of pharyngeal membrane, and you have also prandial drinking. In the next lecture, we are going to continue what I discussed today. Defense of tonicity and defense of extracellular fluid volume, hypernatremia and hyponatremia regarding sodium concentration, osmolarity, causes, clinical picture, and treatment. And we will make focus on two important ions, sodium and potassium, regarding their normal levels, dietary intake, how much, functions of each, and the causes of hyper or hypo of each electrolyte. This is very important, and we will focus also on how the kidney deals with each electrolyte in each specific region of the kidney. At the end of this lecture, I am Dr. Mohamed Fayez, lecturer physiology, Ain Shams department. If you like this video, please subscribe this channel for all your colleagues, and I hope you all good wishes from me. Good luck.